To prep my skin, I used the Body Shop's Oil of Life cream and the NYX spray-on primer, then started mapping things out with a slide-on glide-on pencil in white. I'm just slightly tracing a rough idea of the shapes. This allows me to plan the placing of every part of the ribbon.
Am I coming in? Oh, okay, good. Hey YouTube, sorry for the interruption, but if you didn't hear, Pompberry's been having a lot of issues with her video. After spending 2 whole days painting her face, her computer lost most of the footage and then decided that it just wanted to give up on life and that it was just gonna live there. And by there I mean in the trash can. She's sleeping right now because she hasn't been getting sleep and I feel bad about waking her up, so I'm gonna recreate the beginning of her video so that she has it and then she doesn't have to refilm anything. Disclaimer, I've never done this before, but I've watched her enough that I think I can figure this out. I'm gonna map things off here. Here. And then so far, so good. Isn't nearly as hard as she makes it out to be. Sorry, I know I'm doing it with my glasses on, but I can't see without my glasses, so okay. Okay, I think this is a good map. Start with some gray here. Watched her do this part, so I think I got this. Alright. Started to look like a lot like hers. Let's get some detail work in here. Yeah. I need to, maybe I can you know, this isn't working out. Wait, I think if I just can, I think it looks a lot like hers. Okay, I think we got it. So this is the missing footage. Thanks for tuning in, and please support Pompberry, the real makeup artist here. We did it. Good job, team.
Despite my roommate Jessie's best efforts, I did refilm it for you guys. But yes, all she said about my computer was true. After mapping out the lines, I filled them in with gray face paint. I started with the front of the ribbon. That makes it easier to visualize the effect. Then I roughly paint in the void areas with black face paint. To further map out the shapes, I lightly fill in the part that's the inside of the ribbon. I mix the gray and the black face paint to give me a darker gray. You can mix the colors on a palette or something, but I just do it directly on my skin. Continue working like this until you've mapped out all the shapes. Then you can refine the lines with smaller brushes. Once the shapes of the ribbon are refined, I'll be giving it dimension by drawing a thin black line along the bottom edge. The line shouldn't be too thin since I'll be filling it in with white later. I refine the shapes even more with the black face paint and do another layer of gray face paint where needed. Face paint usually requires a lot of layers to get an even and opaque coverage, so allowing it to dry and adding more and more layers is usually the best way to go. If you try to add a layer to one that isn't completely dry yet, it won't stick as well and may create patches and open up gaps in the painting. I also painted my hair, but that ended up being unnecessary. I start creating shadows with whatever product is left on the brush that I used for the black face paint. I'm going in very lightly using a dry brush technique. Once I've mapped out my shading, I'm going in with the SFX cream color in black to deepen the shade. I lightly define the shapes of my lips by shading around them with very little product on my brush. To get super smooth gradients, I add a little bit of product at a time, working my way up to the desired intensity. It's easier to blend out small amount of products at a time. All you need is patience and a lot of brushing back and forth. The gray still isn't opaque enough in some areas, so I go ahead and apply some more. Surprise, Jessie! Go away! The consistency of the SFX creams are great for blending out smoothly. I'm filling the rest of my shoulders with black face paint and darkening the edges of the ribbon. Then, with a tiny brush and the SFX cream color in white, I draw a thin line within the black line around the edges. This is an easy way of creating an outline for these thin white lines, rather than drawing the white line first and then outlining it after. Once that's done, it's time for some highlights. I'm just taking the SFX cream on a little flat brush and highlighting the high points of my face and wherever is needed to create a contrast with the shadows. Having the reference image at hand for this is essential. Don't forget your ears. Here I'm erasing and redoing this little fold in the ribbon. I didn't like how it looked because I tried to imitate the reference image, but it didn't really translate well into makeup form. So I simplified the shape and it worked out a lot better. After highlighting the high points of my face, I'm going to highlight the inside part of the ribbon, which is meant to be the back of my head. The difference in highlighting and shading throughout the different parts of the ribbon is essential for creating the illusion. And I think I deserve a little snack break. That cupcake made me so happy. Then I go in with some white face paint to help build up the highlights. It also helps to clean up the lines of the edges. And once it's dry, it's back to the SFX cream color. Building it up in layers like this will stop your white from going patchy, and it will also make sure it's really opaque and really white. I'm doing some more edge cleanup as I go along, fixing the shapes that weren't really to my liking. This look is all about layering the products. Since I'm only using black and white for this, I need to make sure my whites are as white as possible and my blacks are as black as possible. I also have to make sure there's no skin showing through any of the gray. With a white liquid liner, I'm defining the lines around the edges even more, making them super precise. These are meant to be super thin, so the applicator of the liner is perfect for that. And then back to layering more cream color. This won't be the last of it either. Once I was happy with that, I moved on to drawing the spheres. I used a light layer of the gray face paint that, when mixed with the black that was already on my skin, made a dark gray. The resulting color is a great base for me to work on. With a small brush and the black face paint, I start adding shadows to the bottom of the spheres, and with white I highlight the top of them. If you've never painted spheres before, it's a great traditional painting and drawing exercise. I feel my shadows aren't dark enough, so I deepen them with the SFX cream color. To help with the blending, also make sure that you have a very fine touch when using the brushes. You don't want to apply too much pressure. Dragging the product on your skin too hard may lift the product that's underneath and create patches, and we definitely don't want that after all the blending to make it so smooth. I'm doing a base of the water-activated face paint first, and going with the SFX cream on top of it. If it was the other way around, the face paint wouldn't stick well to the cream. To set the SFX cream and to help with blending the colors, I'm using the single shadow in whipped cream, which is a matte white. I'm just patting the product on because I don't want to disturb the product that's underneath it. Once the cream is set, then you can blend it out a little bit. Then I went with one more layer of the cream over the eyeshadow. You want to concentrate the white at the top of the spheres, but you'll also want to define their edges with it, using very thin lines. I've pretty much ignored this end of the ribbon up until now, so I'm starting to shade it in with the black face paint, mixing it with the gray to blend it out. If your face starts getting a little bit oily, then lightly powder it with the HD finishing powder. Pause for gummy bears. Taking the white liquid liner again, I'm going to intensify the white lines and add a bit more for detailing. I'm going around the edges of the spheres and the top edges of the ribbon. I always find that these types of stark white highlights help to make the designs of your look pop. Another important thing to note, notice the sphere on my forehead? It looks kind of like an egg, it doesn't really look like a circle, but that's due to the way I position myself for the final image. Because of the angle and the perspective, it will end up looking like a circle. If the line comes out thicker than what you wanted, while it's still wet, you can go in with a clean brush and just clean the excess off to make it thinner. If you're not used to drawing very thin lines, practice on the back of your hand first. It really helps. Now for the background, I just cut some circles out of paper and painted them with a face paint the same way I did it on myself. I decided I didn't like the shape of this particular sphere, so I just erased it and fixed it with a black face paint. With the NYX Primal color in hot black, I deepened all my shadows. This is a really dark and pigmented shadow, so it was great for setting all the shading done with a cream color and making it really black. I used different sized pencil brushes to make sure I could get into the little corners and edges. Then, with a really big brush, I used it for my shoulder area. With a Collection Noir liquid black liner, I traced around the spheres and sharpened the edges of the ribbon. This liner has a really thin applicator brush, so it's perfect for this kind of detail work. I honestly think it's the thinnest liner applicator I've ever used. I also traced the eyebrow. Back with the black primal color, I deepened some more shadows and did some detail work around the lips and the nose. I also highlighted the lips with the SFX cream. My skin got quite oily, so I went in with a HD powder on a big powder puff and patted very gently. I used the white gel liner as the last step in making sure that my whites were really, truly white. The gel liner is super pigmented, and unlike the SFX cream, it sets on its own, so it doesn't need any powder over it. It has great staying power. Although it doesn't need to be set, I went in with a white eyeshadow anyway, just to smooth out the blending even more. So you don't get your perfectly and beautifully white product dirty from your brush, scoop it out and put it in the back of your hand or on a palette. That way you won't dip your dirty brush into the product, getting it dirty from the black face paint. I then started alternating layers of the gel liner and the white eyeshadow. The gel liner doesn't have to be set, but if you do set it with the eyeshadow, then it allows you to add another layer of gel on top of it, making it more opaque and building up your layers. I also felt I needed to strengthen the white along the edges, so I went in with another layer of the white liquid liner. Moving on to the eyes, I'm setting a base of the NYX Proof It Primer all over my eyelids. Then, using a clean finger, I'm packing on the white eyeshadow onto my eyelid. I mean really packing it. Then, with the black liquid liner, I'm drawing in the fake eyelid and the fake eyeball itself. I'm also drawing a fake iris and fake pupils. Then I'm giving it depth by shading it with a hot black primal color on a really tiny brush. I'm adding highlights with a white gel liner. I highlighted the fake eyelid, and since my eyelids are super oily, I actually set this with white eyeshadow, even though usually the gel liner doesn't need any setting, but I just wanted to make really sure. And because that didn't reassure me enough, I went in and powdered everything with a HD powder, just to make super sure, and repeated the same steps on the other eye. Since it's pretty impossible to check if both eyes are even, it's best to take a picture and work from there. Just finish it off with some white liquid liner, and you're done. Because this is a trick in perspective, your face has to be positioned in a very particular way. See, when it moves, it looks totally weird, and you can't see the illusion from the other sides, so it only works in that one particular way. Nonetheless, it's super effective, and it'll be sure to boggle a few minds. Bringing an MC Escher work to life is no easy task. So I hope you liked my MC Escher inspired makeup. If this look earned your vote, then please vote for me at NYXFaceAwards.com. You can vote every day from July 15th to the 22nd, 3 times per email. I also want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been voting for me throughout the competition, everyone who's been supporting me. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me, all your love and support. I read all of your messages, even though I haven't been able to get to all of them because it's been kind of hectic, but I read all of them and I really appreciate them from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I've made it this far into the competition, I'm in the top 12, and I want to make it even further. So now more than ever, I urge you to please vote for me. Get your friends and family to vote, share this video with whoever you think is going to enjoy it. I would really appreciate it. It would mean the world to me. I can't make it on to the next round without your help. Please vote for me. It takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds out of your day. 2. Okay, maybe 3, but 2. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!